In the story of progress, every chapter of development adds depth, richness, and meaning to our collective narrative. From the smallest steps to the grandest strides, every act of development paves the way for a brighter tomorrow. Welcome to the Development Report on Universal Television Africa. I am IFY ONYEKWERE, and together we'll be coming close to our common good as a nation as we discuss global energy trends. We have a guest in the studio, Dr. Peter Ikwozo, who was a former director of the Environmental Sciences Department in the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology. We'll go on a break, and when we come back, we'll delve into the conversation. In a world where challenges persist, we seek solutions for a sustainable tomorrow. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, guides our path towards climate action to social justice as we build resilient communities. From embracing circular economies, to reducing carbon footprint, to promoting eco-innovation, to empowering marginalized communities and ensuring inclusive governance and human rights. Through integrated approaches, we are fostering transformative change. I am IFY ONYEKWERE. Join me on the Development Report as we explore the intersection of sustainability on Universal Television Africa towards sustainable development. Welcome back. It's still the Development Report on Universal Television Africa. I am IFY ONYEKWERE, and we have an amazing guest in the studio who's going to be discussing global energy trends with us, Dr. Peter Ikwozo, who is the Executive Director of Methanol Biogas Integrated Limited, and who was once a former director at the Department of Environmental Sciences and Technology of the Federal Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology. Great to have you in the studio today, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Ify.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Sir, could you give us a brief of the global space? What is it like? What is energy in the global space right now? What is trending in the energy space in the globe?
Globally, energy is in view of the climatic conditions, climate change, and the several challenges facing energy.
That's
and
right.
Of course, you know the pivotal role of energy in economic development.
That's right.
Especially in manufacturing, various sectors, it plays a very key role. And because of also the role of energy sector in global warming. So you now have affecting the environment, now have both environmental problems and economic problems, and then you need to balance the two in order to have sustainable development at the end of the day. So
That's
it
right.
has been a topical conversation within the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. The negotiation has been on for the past 28 years on how nations can commit themselves to cutting down global warming. And that led to, after 15 to 20 years, at the 15th year, that was in COP15, when the Kyoto Protocol stopped, we started the issue of coming up with a global agreement called the Paris Agreement, which took effect in 2020. So that global agreement also affected how nations are pursuing their socio-economic development as well as their energy transition. So that gave rise to what is called energy transition in many countries, both developing and developed countries. And then you will recall that developed countries like America, Germany, China, all these are actually the big emitting nations because they rely on coal, they rely on fossil fuels for their industrial processes. As a result, the responsibility lies on them to actually commit themselves if we must have a cleaner future. For African countries, we actually contribute much, much less than 1% to the entire global emission. Or however, the parties, over 194 parties, came to conclusion that irrespective of your national circumstances, you must commit yourself to cutting down global warming. And a kind of commitment article came into being called National Determined Contribution. Nigeria also submitted herself to that commitment, and we are committed to cut down by 47%. 20% without assistance, additional 27% with international assistance, making 47%. And this commitment was given in 7 sectors. And these key 7 sectors are the life wire of Nigerian economy. So energy transition is very key to Nigeria. How we manage it, strategies to do that will definitely affect our environment, affect our livelihood, affect our population, affect our economic growth going forward.
Now, looking at our contribution, what would you say our effort in mitigation and adaptation has been with focus on the energy sector so far? What are we doing to mitigate?
Yes, we are doing a lot. I must say that through efforts of Nigerian delegation and other partners that are actually heavily dependent on oil and gas, because oil and gas is considered the dirty fuel and should not be considered in energy transition. But after so much effort and back and forth negotiation, the international community now allows gas-rich nations to use gas as a transitional fuel. And for Nigeria, in fact, we are richer in gas than oil. So it has given us a window. And what government is doing, 2020, when the Paris Agreement took effect, Nigeria declared 2020 as a year of gas. Now, what that means is that we are going to use gas in all our economic sectors going forward, because that will give us a transition to actually transit to totally renewable energy technologies.
Talking about the transition, how far have we come?
Yes, we have gone a long way. You will recall recently when the present administration came in, they came up with CNG, compressed natural gas. Okay, but from the ministry where I retired, we went further than that, because we proposed to Nigeria what is called a national strategy on raw materials and products competitiveness. Now, what that strategy seeks to achieve is for us to gain prosperity, fast-track our socio-economic development through value addition, adding value to whatever raw material we have, and that includes gas. And with that, the ministry also came up working in collaboration with 16 other ministries. We came up with a national policy framework called the National Policy on Methanol Fuel Production Technology. Okay. Now, that policy framework is aimed at converting natural gas resources into several product lines. So, compressed CNG is just one product line, just compressing gas.
There are lots more.
So when you now add technology, you are going to have several industries coming out of it. From there, you are going to power your electricity sector, generate more electricity. You are going to have several industries, chemical industries that will employ people. You're also going to have clean transportation. It's also as good as CNG in transportation, okay? So you will develop all these sectors, particularly waste sector, because you will also convert waste into methanol. So it gives room for fast-tracking socio-economic development in Nigeria.
Yeah, I wanted to highlight and speak to Nigerians about CNG, because a lot of people do not really have the idea or the depth of the knowledge of what CNG is. You know, if this is clean energy, and you know the advantages of it over fuel and all like that. Could you just highlight that?
Yes, CNG for short is to clean up natural gas and then compress it. That's just this technology. It's cleaner because you have removed the dirty components of the natural gas, okay? And then in terms of emission potential, it's also lower than fossil fuel, okay? So it emits less carbon. And in terms of cost, is the cheapest of all alternatives. Okay, because of the way it is produced, you just little effort is required in compressing gas, and then you set up the infrastructure. And if you keep to risk in it, which the committee has done, because they came up with a tank that is less explosive, that is protected against explosion and all of that. So these are the fine aspects of CNG, and it's very cheap. So with time, when government invests more in actually value addition to our natural gas, you're going to have methanol, you're going to have methanol initiative, just like we have the CNG initiative.
Yeah.
And methanol will equally be very useful in transportation. But in terms of transportation, CNG is the cheapest alternative when you place all the alternatives.
Very amazing. Away from CNG to, or because you said it's just like 1% out of every other clean technology you have, could you highlight some of these other clean energy sources and how we as a people or how we as a nation can actually buy into this?
The coming from gas, which we have in abundance. We also have the sun in abundance. We also have wind. Okay, 4, 5, 10 years back,
Yes, sir.
Nigeria has done a study in the renewable energy availability in different parts of the country. For instance, in Katsina, you can generate renewable electricity through wind because they are rich in wind. In parts of Lagos, in addition to sun, you have sea waves. So, okay, there are also geothermal. Some areas in north that you have that is very hot. So you can use your heat to generate. You can use wind. You can use hydro. And also some states are rich in hydro. So all these are renewable sources of electricity. And you can also, if you deploy technology, appropriate technology, you can also convert our quantum of waste dumps all across the country.
Amazing.
You can convert it to methanol and make it clean for energy production.
We're going to continue from that conversation on the waste, turning waste into, energy sources for us as a country. We'll go on a break and then we'll be right back. In a world where challenges persist, we seek solutions for a sustainable tomorrow. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, guides our path towards climate action to social justice as we build resilient communities. From embracing circular economies, to reducing carbon footprint, to promoting eco-innovation, to empowering marginalized communities and ensuring inclusive governance and human rights. Through integrated approaches, we are fostering transformative change. I am IFY ONYEKWERE. Join me on the Development Report as we explore the intersection of sustainability on Universal Television Africa towards sustainable development. Welcome back. It's still the Development Report, and we're discussing global trend here on Universal Television Africa. We have Dr. Peter Ikwozo in the studio here with us. And then before we went on that break, you mentioned the possibility of turning waste into energy sources. Could you highlight on that and let us know the possibilities of achieving this as a country?
As one of the major feedstocks for energy production, particularly methanol production, is the waste dump, the agricultural bio-waste in the farms. Instead of burning it, you can convert it to methanol. You can also directly, there are various clean technologies that are now available that you can convert waste straight to energy.
Amazing.
And that is called waste to energy. Okay? And you can also convert waste, total waste dump. The Ministry of Science, Innovation, Science and Technology has come up with what is called an aerobic biodigester. Now, that technology has the capacity to be located in a waste dump, clean up the waste dump, convert everything in that waste dump, produce what is called biofertilizer that you can use in your farm, okay? Now, produce what is called clean gas for cooking, for powering that area, okay? And also producing what is called, the final things you have there will be sand that is clean, but maybe polluted with heavy metals. And because of that pollution, you can now designate that waste dump as a reserved area where you now grow trees that you can deploy for further decarbonization of the atmosphere. Because when you now plant economic trees, they will serve as a sequestration facility for clean air. So there are several, nothing is a waste, including the waste.
Okay, talking about the biodigester, do we have it readily available here in Nigeria, and has it been, used? And what does it cost to really have something like this? Because it's really going to generate lots of clean energy based on what you just highlighted.
It's readily available. It has been part of my efforts while at the ministry was actually to engineer the local construction of these technologies. And we succeeded in getting one in Anambra State. It's going to be replicated in all the 6 zones of Nigeria.
So I wanted to highlight some of the interesting energy trends that, have been adopted by some of these developed nations you talked about, and some of the ones that are possible for us to actually adopt in Nigeria, so that we can actually move faster towards sustainable development goals.
I have to cite examples with the countries that I have actually advanced, like Germany, like Netherlands, even Costa Rica. All these developed countries, they have pioneered advancement in solar technology, wind, hydro, hydropower, and also geothermal. Because if you have a land that is so hot, you can tap heat from under the ground and use it to generate electricity.
Amazing.
So that's geothermal. So these technologies have actually been advanced by developed countries, and they are available to us. But how do we come in?
Exactly.
Various ways of coming in through the international agreements I've just mentioned. Paris Agreement offers you a window, to partner, and then discuss terms for technology transfer, which is also possible, The international agreement also offers you a window to collaborate in research and development. And if you invest, which is where Nigeria is lacking, but with time, we need to up our game in that area, in research and development. Because when you research, the good thing about research and development is that it gives you direct access to intellectual property rights. And intellectual property right domain is another area of wealth creation, especially for young people. Because when you develop something or innovate and it's registered, maybe for the next 15, 50 years, 30 years, you are earning from that intellectual property right. So through that, you now do what is called upscaling. And Nigeria has also keyed into that through what is called Global Clean Tech Innovation Program. It's also been coordinated by Federal Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology in collaboration with UNIDO. Now, what that gives you, it gives you the edge to actually partner with advanced developed nations and also develop your internal capacity for research and development through the peer exposure and collaboration, and of course, access to financial window that is also part of that program.
I find it quite interesting that there are lots of policies that have been made from the part of the government. There are lots of, policies out there, but it feels like there is a gap, in knowledge with what's going on, and then the average Nigerian Beyond youths, yeah, but I mean, just want to use, youths or, so why is there a disparity? Why is there a disparity? Why are people not, should we say the policies are not enticing enough to attract young people, or is it young people who are not interested to buy into this? Or, what exactly is the cause of this bridging?
The major problem is that communication is the issue. And all of us are guilty in this aspect. Whether government, private, we're all guilty. And this is an area we need to wake up. Communication is the problem. The government strategy in communicating policies is very weak. Because everybody, not just government, both public, private, they see communication as you don't need to invest in it. But you have to invest. That is the truth. You have to invest. In fact, for all these major multinational companies, sometimes when they develop a product, do you know communication takes 70% of their investment?
Yeah.
70% to communicate what they want to do. But here, we see that, I have this, I don't need to. But communication is key.
Yeah, because it's really a problem if the government is doing a whole lot and the people really cannot feel what's going on.
It's communication. Communication strategy is weak. It's weak. And if government, including private sector, we're all guilty in it, okay? We don't communicate properly. In fact, there are some technologies that if you want to develop, communication comes months ahead of that development.
That's right.
Before the launch, so that people will be looking out for it. You now introduce it. Now, how it is deployed, how it is used, the immense benefits to the society, all this, you don't need to waste that because people have been it has formed part of their culture. So that is the major problem.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to tell us what the implications will look like in the future if we do not if we do not embrace clean energy, fast as much as we should. Is there also an urgency for us to, embrace clean energy, and what will be the implication if we're not doing this?
There is serious urgency to embrace clean technology. For me, I'm on the opposite side of those who are saying, it's very expensive. It's very expensive. There is no effort that is cheap. No effort in life is cheap. So if you must enjoy something that is worth it, that's something that is sustainable, something that will see into the future, those efforts, you take it serious. How you take it serious determines the cost to you. So in that sense, it is very urgent. And again, these green technologies, which we call it, that is the clean technologies, some of them actually take time to develop. Just because for developing countries that we are where we are, but we must adopt technological strategies that will enable us to fast track by adopting, by collaborating to enjoy technology transfer, and of course, by also investing in our young people. It is very important. And we must invest in research and development. There are no two ways.
Amazing. Amazing. So young people watching us, I think it is something to really tap into. Clean energy is actually a great business where I believe there are so much opportunities. We'll go on a break now, and then when we come back, we'll continue the conversation. Welcome back. This is still the Development Report, and we're discussing global energy trends. And we have a guest in the studio who's been doing justice to the topic before us, Dr. Peter Ekwozo. Before we went on the break we just had now, you mentioned young people involvement in clean tech energy. Could you tell us how, there could be synergy between young people, the government, and all like that to ensure that what policies are being passed, or these policies that are being passed actually have an effect, and we can see the ripple effect. A lot of young people can come as a mass to say, oh, we're embracing clean tech for sustainable development, and also to create solutions for the Nigerian space and even Africa at large.
There is so much effort on the part of government and even the public sector, private sector, in that regard. I remember earlier I mentioned the Global Clean Tech Innovation Program. It's a global program put up by UNIDO. And Nigeria was the 10th member of that network. Right now, 17 countries are members of that network.
Yeah.
Now, what that program seeks to achieve is to subject all your key sectors. Development it differs from one country to another based on your circumstances. Some are rich in raw materials, some don't have anything, so they depend on knowledge and value addition and importation and all kinds of things. But that program is entirely focused on clean technology. Whether you are offering service or you are production or you are in any activity you are, it considers how do you adopt clean technological processes, clean methodologies in achieving what you want to do. And UNIDO, Nigeria managed to get an initial fund for funding the startup program from the Global Environment Facility. So that program started like 2 years now.
Wow.
It's a 3-year program. After that, the Federal Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology will continue with that. But before that, government has put in place what is called the National Board for Technology Incubation. It's essentially for young innovators and young inventors. Now, what that does is, if you have an idea, just an idea, you have an idea and you want to incubate this idea, you approach MBTI.
Oh, these ideas are for the energy?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, both for energy, both for agriculture, anything you are, including waste to wealth. Okay, you approach that, you will be given the facilities to develop your idea for a period of 3 years. You now move and then upscale your product.
Amazing, amazing. Really, it's unfortunate that we have to call it a wrap here, but it was great learning all this from you, and I believe our viewers watching have also gotten insight for this effort towards sustainable development. It was great having you on the show today. Thank you so much, sir. Here's a quote to think upon: sustainable development is the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the needs of the future. I am IFY ONYEKWERE. Until next time, bye.